Hi, welcome to Write More Light. My name is Sarah with the Midwest Writing Center. And today we have a guest that I'm particularly excited about. It's been one of my goals since 2020 to get her on. For those who don't normally hang out with us, watch this video series, here's what's going to happen. We're going to talk for 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm going to give updates about the Midwest Writing Center, and then we're going to have a 5-minute free write. I'm going to talk slower than this for most of the video. So without any further ado, Mary Davidsaver is a local author, community person. I clearly am not reading my notes. Who does a lot of teaching and working in the community and working with other literary communities, and is also very talented and kind. Mary, thanks for hanging out with me today.
No problem. Yes. Thank you for having me.
So I'm so excited. I am somebody who works, it's not really part of my job, but it also feels very much like it's part of my job to read local authors. And I'm always really nervous about it because I don't like, what if I don't like it, right? Especially if I know the person. And thankfully that's not the case with you. Your books are so fun. I just discovered Cozy Mysteries in 2020 as well. So it was good timing to follow that. Yeah, y'all should read Mary. Yeah, go ahead if you want to take over at any time. You are welcome to.
Well, let's see. Yes, I found out about the Midwest Writing Center when I was in Bishop Hill, because I lived there for like 24 years, which is why my Cozy Mysteries are all centered around Bishop Hill and some of the issues there. Well, okay, in my first one, yes, preservation was a big one for me because at that time period, we're talking late aughts, 2010, something like that. And there was a lot of problems going on with tourism and the state site maybe rescinding some funding, and people were wondering, oh, is Bishop Hill going to close down? What's going to happen? And it's amazing, if you hang around long enough, this stuff comes back. But yeah, that was a mission for me, was to write about Bishop Hill and some of the issues there. So those are my first themes. And coming up with a protagonist, that came a little bit later and probably was a little harder for me. Because, when I write dialogue first, and then kind of make them move around and have issues and personalities. Characters have to have personalities. Conflict, yes. So all those were issues for me. In the cozy mystery format, I chose early on because I was told it was a good way to learn plotting and timing and stuff like that. And I needed that because I was starting out from, working with Arts Council committees, being a secretary. I wrote killer notes, as I was told. And so working my way up from there to some feature articles for the Galva News, local newspaper, when they could, well, they didn't really hire me. I was more of a correspondent. I kind of missed the golden age of publishing here. So I'm playing catch up. I had a late start. And so I had to learn how to do all this stuff, to go from writing something that was like 500 to 700 words to 50,000 words. That was a big jump for me.
Your books are not small.
No, the first one was 74,000 words. So, and that was cutting back some, because at one point it was all third person, past tense. And I was told that first person, that was just catching on back then. And so I switched to first person and found it was really easier to develop my main character, my protagonist.
That
She
makes
came
sense.
alive, and I had more fun with it. And I think I had a way to get more humor into it too, because I do like to have some humor, some running gags and stuff like that. People, talking back and forth and irritating each other. Yeah, that was good. Um, so, yeah, so I developed things, and the cozy mystery genre in general has to have an amateur sleuth, an amateur detective. So you have to get them on stage. You have to get them involved with the crime. There has to be a crime, but not as graphic or bloody as some things. So it's tame. And when I was also doing research starting out, I was reading other people's first books in a cozy mystery series. So we have books with cats. You would like that. Rita Mae Brown. And cookie recipes, other kinds of recipes. So I actually thought about adding in meatball recipes at one time. So yes, I got it. I got a good one from my Swedish mother-in-law. Um, but another book that was really good for me was this one. And this author, this was her fifth book in this series. And she was invited to stay in Bishop Hill for a week. So she's roaming around town, taking notes, interviewing people. And she's written this book. Um, she needed a place for her mother-in-law to come from. And she chose Bishop Hill. And I've read it several times, and it's so much fun because it's around 2091 or so, and I can recognize all these people that are in there. I know their real names, I know their backgrounds, and it's so much fun to have that much local color in a book. And I strive to do that too. So yeah, I did a lot of name dropping of small towns in the first book, getting them out. I had somebody from Kiwani and from uh, you know Galva and down the road some, uh,
That
all
always makes me
over.
really excited as a reader to see places that I know and love or
Hmm.
associate with.
Yeah, can recognize. So yeah. Um, so that was fun, and just well, it took a while to get everything together because I don't do outlines. I'm more of a pantser, and that's what I did the first time I did National Novel Writing Month. I can recommend that to anybody who's getting started because I went into that. I wanted 50,000 words. I didn't expect to have a first draft even, and I didn't. But I got some bits and pieces, and I got some experience, and I got the confidence that, yeah, I can do this. I just need to work at it and keep
And that
keep
habit
working at
building
it.
is a big deal too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I want to clarify, you said pantser. I am also a pantser. When we say
Oh.
that, we mean that people who write novels generally
Hmm.
tend to fall into the category of you it's plotter or pantser, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You scaffold, you
That's the
write
main
out what's
two.
going to happen, you know the general shape of the story in advance. That's a plotter. And a pantser writes by the seat of their pants. And that's what I
Yes.
do. And it's also generally like, I know it doesn't come naturally to everybody, but I tend to be like, if you're stuck, just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah.
I want to thank you too for talking about some of the tropes of the cozy mystery, because I forgot to clarify that or ask about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know the first, like as a kid, because I had a cat, somebody gave me the Cat Who series, Lily and Jackson
Ah.
Brown.
Ah.
And I never put together that that's what that was. And then in 2020, maybe 2019, I worked at a bookstore.
Mm.
And my favorite thing was just to shelve the cozy mysteries because they have the most fun names. And that's
They
why
are imaginative, yes.
they're so good. And so that's why I ended up buying one. I was like, I can't not know what this is.
Mhm.
And they're really, I wouldn't have thought to include if I were describing cozy mystery, I would have forgotten it entirely to
Mhm.
the amateur aspect,
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
is the thing, right? Like that's what gets me in the door. This could be me, the amateur detective,
Mm.
not me. I leave when I see danger.
Yes, well, when I was building my protagonist, who was quite a bit younger than I am, more the age of my children when they were just graduating college. So, I was, honing in on what I remembered of their dialogue and their problems. And maybe, yeah, maybe a little of my own at that age, but it was so long ago, geez. Um, but yeah, I had to, yeah, it was difficult, but you have to keep at it and use what you have, around you. So yes, uh, yeah, I have neighbors. I try to disguise them. Always disguise your characters. Change gender, change jobs, anything. Make them go against type. But that will save you because yes, I didn't really want to embarrass myself too bad.
Yeah. Or, accidentally make enemies.
True, because yeah, well, that was a thing I had to think about because I was writing about a very, very small town, and wow, yes, you could step on some toes very easily. And, yeah,
Even things
if
that
I
like
did,
you
I
think
haven't heard
are, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, if I have stepped on any toes, I haven't heard about it. So, or maybe it just goes over. Yeah.
But yeah, even things that you think are charming or endearing, or you say with kindness can come across poorly. I know I heard my spouse call me annoying one time to somebody else, and I got so mad. And he was like, "No, it's great. Like I love you,
Mm.
and you're annoying." I was like, "This is the worst. What are you saying to me?" But he meant it. He was like, "This is
Hmm.
one of the things that is sweet that
Yes.
you keep doing." I don't know what it was, but I remember that I was called annoying.
Well,
So
and you have to build composite characters too. Bits and pieces of people makes it harder for them to recognize which ones they are. But you have to have conflict in a story. In a novel, short story you can tie things up fairly fast, but a novel you have to keep going and going and going and not lose their interest, lose the pace. I try to be aware of that, but I'm not sure. I get it. That's why in the second book, I had to go back and stick with my theme of preservation and restoration, saving things, and the difference between development and not developing, because that was a big deal in Bishop Hill. Some wanted it, some didn't.
and that's everywhere. I would say probably especially,
Hmm.
maybe not even especially in small towns, but that's something you see, I follow this account on social media about just historic places that are closing down in Seattle because I lived in Seattle. Um,
Ah,
and that's not a small town.
no.
But it's the things that keep our heart in a place when you change them, even if it's changing for the better, whatever it is, it's hard and it hurts.
Well, I tried to make Bishop Hill a little bit bigger than it was. Because I was thinking there's just not enough room to move around, which is something I discovered in my first draft, National Novel Writing Month. think that was 2000 or yeah, 2010. Because I had this cast of characters and I was going to follow the older lady, the mother figure. And I kind of ran out of steam there. Just, I couldn't get her moving around enough to interact with people. And that's when I went with a younger protagonist who was just out of college and wanting to leave, to leave the small town, to go after, the shiny stuff, the bright lights.
That's really interesting. That's something I think about a lot because like in my life, I don't know how to go meet people. And so when I think about how, how to develop someone else's life,
Mm-hmm.
where are they meeting people? I know
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are meeting online, and that's just not something I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't know how to write it.
I think it would probably help with career choice with
Mhm.
them. I've got my protagonist working in museums, and you get a lot of museums. Bishop Hill used to have like 10,000 people come through on a season, um, and that's dropped dramatically, but that's the way it was. And we had 5 restaurants at one time. We're a lot fewer now, but they're still good. And I found one that has an excellent cup of coffee. And
Oh,
that
I'm
is
listening.
very important. Swedes like their coffee and they like it strong. So
I didn't know that.
yes,
I
yes.
am is it like a diner type of place?
Um, well, it's got clothing in front and
I know that type of
a
store. Yeah. And then there's a coffee bar in back.
barista.
Yeah.
Yeah, coffee bar in back. They do some sandwiches, but I lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Uh, but no, it's looking for those little things to help keep the story moving and just working things in. Um, okay, now she has her part, what, Joan Spencer's mystery series. She works as an orchestra leader or something like that. So she has a background in music. My background was in arts and crafts. I made jewelry in Bishop Hill. So I wanted art to be part of it. So that's why we're looking for a missing painting in the first book. And that was my big idea. An Olaf Kranz painting of Eric Jansen, um, the prophet of Bishop Hill, was missing. Okay, because one, there weren't any recorded images of Eric Jansen. And two, I had to change his name because he was just too difficult a character to deal with. So I made up this whole backstory of a different person. And that was kind of the last step before publishing. So, yeah, I was a little nervous about that, if I got that right. And so, I had to revisit it a little bit in the second book. And if I get to the third book, yeah, we're going to get into backstory of the charismatic leader of Bishop Hill Colony. And I did leave the names. A lot of people will change the names of towns and such. Uh, but like I said, there was a period when tourism and um, the backing of the Illinois Arts Council was kind of in jeopardy, maybe. Um, and I wanted the name Bishop Hill out there to help things. My little contribution to tourism to help them along because we needed it. It's a little town in the middle of a cornfield. Really, really, I call it the cornfield triangle. Yeah. Got the Quad Cities, you got Peoria, and then you got Kewanee.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a big triangle. So,
I wouldn't have thought of that, but I love that. And I want to use it, but it's not really relevant to me. I want to follow up on one thing that you said earlier, which was a surprise to me. You chose the cozy mystery because someone told you it was an easy way to learn plotting.
mhm,
And your main goal was to bring some attention to Bishop Hill's
yes,
situation.
yeah,
Um,
one of them, one of them. I had several.
did you then you already wanted to be a fiction writer?
Um, well, I don't know if I had those grand of plans at the time. I wanted to get this one book out. Okay, that was my big goal. I want to write a book. And like I say, I started a little bit late in life, so I had a lot of catching up to do as far as learning. Well, I actually read a grammar book cover to cover because I totally zoned out on constructing sentences and stuff in high school. And,
What
you know,
book?
I
Was it
just,
good? Only tell me if it was good.
um, I have it here. Yes. I don't know if it's good because it didn't have a lot on dialogue. And I think there's more online now than when I had to get this.
I think dialogue tends to just be its own
Well,
beast. Like it
formatting.
doesn't necessarily care about grammar.
Right. Yes, definitely. But you still have to kind of format it. You know, you
Mm.
got tags,
Hmm.
you got quotation marks and where to put them. And
Punctuation
also,
goes
where do you
inside
put
your,
your commas?
yeah.
You've got you've got a program on commas that I have to go back and listen
Commas
to.
are the world's enemy, and people don't
Yes,
know that.
yes.
None of
I
us are using
swear,
commas correctly.
I swear, I have been through, you know, editing a manuscript and I'd be putting more commas in, and then I'd go back and take a whole bunch of them out. And it's like, ah. But I,
No one knows how to use commas. It's a
yes,
universal truth. So was it a good lesson in plotting?
yes, yes. Because, all right, the first one, Clouds over Bishop Hill, I've got a 103-year-old woman kind of setting the action off. And I took her back to when she was 10 years old. And I had this whole story out, and my first draft, I just dumped it all out there. And it's like, no, you can't do that, you know. So I had to break it up, move it around. And it kind of worked out because it came out in 4 different sections. And they, if you look at the, if you mark them and look at the top of the book, they're kind of evenly spaced. And I was just amazed. But yeah, so yeah, you break things up. You don't have to dump everything you know out there right away. Um, I call it the information dump. So yeah,
I'm guilty of that.
yeah, just because you know it, you don't have to use it. You don't have to use it all at once. You know, make it more interesting, and you know, and it works out better for the characters too. And like I said, I yeah, started out with third person, second, okay, past tense, third person past tense, and then switched to first person. But I left the older lady, our 103-year-old teacher, who was a witness. She was our witness to connect us from Olaf Kranz, the painter, in his last year, to you know the mystery in the present time. But the present time for the first book is 2008, and that is before windmills hit uh, you know, the Bishop Hill, Henry County area big time. They were working on them, but they hadn't gotten past just putting in the foundations. So you go there now, and there are windmills all over the place. Um, mhm. And you know, progress of a sort. we can't go out there and plug our, computers into them, but, it's the thought that counts. They're
But they're providing
contributing.
energy.
Yeah.
Um, so how did you end up from prospective author, you became then just you're very involved in the literary community in the Quad Cities. How did that happen?
Well, okay, so I'm in Bishop Hill. I want to do more serious writing. And okay, newspapers. There was a column in the newspaper by Julie Jensen McDonald. I think she did a monthly review of what the Midwest Writing Center was doing. And my husband would always say, oh, this and this is going on. And, and there was that was back when there was, okay, Iron Pen is the short 24-hour contest. Pen in Hand were workshops. There was usually 3 workshops on a Saturday, and I could handle that. I could drive in to the big city and find you over in Davenport. And there was always something. Out of 3 workshops, there was always something that I needed, okay? And it would help me progress on my way, answer questions, just experience. And yeah, I started out being the shy person in the back of the room who didn't say anything, and it's like, no, don't count on me, don't ask any questions. And no, I got braver and braver the more workshops I went to. And when we were deciding to move, the choice was between Davenport and Peoria, and Davenport won out, and it was because of the Writing Center, because it's such a great resource. And living here, it got me closer to the summer conference, David R. Collins Writers Conference, and that was a good experience. Yes,
I'm
always.
always worried that people think that I'm just like trying to sell the Writing Center to them. But the fact is that I've been in love with the Writing Center probably more than half my life now. And I don't talk about it because I work here. I work here because I love it. And I love that. The conference, every year, I feel like I'm a changed person after the conference.
Yes, that, and there was one fall workshop that was on novel writing, and we had a good crowd and a lot of response. And the instructors from Iowa City Writers Workshop, and I thought that was a treasure trove, for the price we paid for it, to get somebody with that experience, even twice a month, to come and, help us out. That was great. So I'll always appreciate that. So did you start out as a young emerging writer, or?
I did. Yep. In
Did
year
you?
2.
That is a good program. Yeah.
I can say without question, without reservation, it changed my life. And I think too, it's really important. Kids are really, I mean, teens, but everyone, are really being told, like, you have to go into the sciences, you have to go into tech, and that's wonderful. Those things need to exist. We need those people, but it's not a requirement for all of us. We all need to, in our own way, answer the call. And that's what I think is especially powerful and especially important about that program, is that it's up to you to make that decision about what path you're on and what you want to say and what you have to say.
Well, you get experience. Ryan Collins, director of the Writing Center, always likes to say that, everything involves writing in some way or another. and
Yeah.
the things you've learned, okay, so you go into technical stuff. It would help to have writing skills to make yourself understood and to get your ideas across and, be able to communicate to people. And then, well, we see a lot of doctors and such who, they retire and then they write their books.
Hmm.
So, it's always useful, always.
That's something, I mean, I love that. I love that when folks retire, they're able to, I mean, more or less do whatever they want. But
Mm.
I always wonder, and I'm always a little sad about folks who maybe waited to live that dream too.
Yeah, unless you can really get by with, out much sleep.
Yeah.
You hear about people who wake up at 5 in the morning, they write for 2 hours and they go off to their job. And oh wow, I
Yeah,
I, I
I
admire
think
them.
I think about that a lot in general, but particularly right now, I'm very tired. I have more than one job. I have more than
Hmm.
two jobs. And it's very important to me to prioritize my writing, but how do you do it if you have no energy? How do you do it if you have responsibilities? I don't even have kids.
Hmm. You have
And
cats, though. That almost counts.
thank you.
I
I
don't
just
know how many you have. I see the black one a lot.
so many. But yeah, the black one is my baby. He's always by my side.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So I get it. And I think that I would probably actually I'm taking the week of my birthday off.
Good.
And the plan is to treat it as like a private writing vacation. And I'm looking
Yes.
forward to that, but not everyone has
Okay.
that ability.
No, no. Uh, take notes, I guess, and don't lose them. You can you can write yourself notes, but if you don't read them, they don't work.
Yeah. I was telling Tate Lewis Carroll was on last week and they're a barista. And I was saying I used to always print out receipt tape when I was a barista or worked retail to take notes, which is
Hmm.
not ideal. It curls up. You're going to crumple it in your pocket. Pens don't write on it.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
But there are little tiny notebooks, little composition books that you can fit in even a girl pant pocket. And of course everybody has phones, but I'm not a phone guy.
Mm. Well, I never learned how to use them so much because I don't know. I'm still from the index card generation, I guess. Notebooks,
Yeah,
but
I'm not. But there's something in me just does not translate to tech. I don't My first drafts are always handwritten.
ooh.
My notes are on paper. I tried
Hmm.
actually this year to go to like a to-do list and calendar online, and it fell apart in like 2 weeks.
Okay.
I got so
Yeah,
disorganized so fast.
I didn't even make it that long. I've got them there. And there's this nice program for, sticky notes.
Hmm.
Yes, I used to use sticky notes quite a bit, they line my bench. Yeah. I always wanted to have a shirt. Okay, I've got my writing center shirt on, but I wanted a shirt that had a little square in the middle that you could put a sticky note on.
I had a shirt once that had Velcro and you could put letters on it.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I thought I'd get a lot of use out of that, but it was weirdly difficult to choose something to put on your chest every day.
I never got that far, but it was a thought. It's a thought. Um,
So I loved hearing that the writing center is what got you involved, but you're really like
yeah.
it was I cannot imagine you as like quietly sitting in the corner in a writing class. So that's crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um
No, I
I'm
knew something shifted when I was at a conference workshop, and I was sitting up front, and the instructor would ask a question, and I'd wait for somebody to say something, and then, okay, I guess I have to. And I did, and I thought, damn. Oh, I'm sorry.
You had the answer. That's a big moment. That's
Well,
a
I
big
contributed. Okay, I contributed. And I figured, okay, if I say something first, it'll be, there'll be disagreements and they'll get somebody else primed up and ready to contribute. So I do that at book clubs. I try to be the first one to say something about a book. That way I can be quiet and let everybody else go. And yeah, it works out real good. I
That's
can.
so brave. I mean, I can talk in a classroom, but in a book club, I feel like I don't even process the book until I'm talking about it. I would be
Mhm.
so scared.
But I've been in quite a few book clubs. I was in 5 at one time
At
and
the same
realized
time,
that, yes, well, same month, yeah. And I realized that was getting to be too much. So I'm back down to 3 and one short stories. Yes, short stories. And that reminds me, I'm looking at your list here about KSI, and some of the things that I did last year for Novel Writing Month was to work on a play. And it was an adaptation of a memoir of somebody who worked at KSI. And I've not been wanting to write memoirs myself, and I'm not sure I appreciate totally other people's memoirs. At least I'm not too much. Anyway,
I don't read a lot of memoirs. I'll do it. No, normally if I'm reading a memoir, there's like a reason I'm reading it.
mhm.
Um, but go on. I just wanted to
uh,
back you up on that.
but yeah, but it was an interesting experience because, yeah, it had problems to solve. This one had some dialogue at least, and I could have these little vignettes. And yes, and it was so much fun. I got it done, and people thought, okay, this is workable because I had it's a one-act play. It ran about 20 minutes, and I had ideas for staging. And come January, uh, our theater group at KSI was working with some Augustana students, a class there. So we had like 20 students coming in, broke them up into 3 groups. So I had, as a playwright, I had people at my disposal to in costumes and all this good stuff. So even though my play was still, we're talking probably first draft, or maybe a little better than that, but still it needed working to actually come to life. And it was just a great experience. So and we did that all in 1 month. So it was pretty raw at the
That's
at the
so
time we were
fast.
performing. It is. I mean, we had, we're talking about characterization, assigning, roles to people and talking about backgrounds for characters. And then we had only a couple read throughs before we had to, try to stage it. And then all of a sudden it's dress rehearsal and then it's the real thing. But it was a cold January day, so we didn't have a huge crowd. So, but still, you know.
KSI does some
And
really
and
incredible
yeah,
stuff.
they had a great time. They had a great time. It was all fun plays. And yeah, and then they got credit for it too.
Oh, the
So
students?
yes, they did. There's a J term at
Hmm.
Augustana, and that's why it's only 3.5 weeks. But we done it before, maybe 2 times before, and we got one in before COVID shut down. Okay, so we could all work together, and yeah, it was so much fun walking down the halls with students and being able to talk to them about, their problems and maybe offer a little advice. It was cool. And just connecting, just
Hmm.
connecting. And then the second time it was a full out um, lockdown, and we did it with Zoom, and it just wasn't the same, you know. everybody on their own little screen. It worked, but you didn't have that personal connection. So having an in-person, face-to-face interaction with everybody was really good.
Yeah, it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's so cool. I can't imagine. That's so fast.
And the writing centers had workshops, play workshops, and I've missed them, I think at least twice now. So I'm not sure how I'm going to get that in.
I have a friend who's a playwright who I keep poking, but she's very busy.
Hmm.
And I know other people have talked about interest in script writing. You know, scripts could be comics, scripts can be screenwriting, scripts can be playwriting. I'm sure other things, radio play, podcasts.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes.
I can list things. Is that was that the thing you were working on most recently at KSI?
Yes, yeah, that was this January. So yeah, I pretty much zoned out on everything else and just worked on that.
That sounds awesome,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, it was great. I
Just
mean,
devote yourself to a
come on, you
project.
see it, you see your words perform. Geez, can't
Yeah, how
beat
did
that.
you
Oh, except reading them. Reading them is, seeing them on a shelf in a bookstore. That's pretty cool too.
how did you um how did you decide on that memoir to adapt?
It was okay. We were talking. Let's see. This is the Second Avenue Players at KSI, and important thing to mention about them is we do not memorize our scripts, our lines. Right? There's no way, no way. And so we do maybe middle school level plays sometimes, and we have another senior with us who has written quite a few plays because he has a just great sense of humor. He is a punster. But so I wasn't there, but they're talking about what play to do next. And this guy comes in, well, hey, I've got this little skinny little memoir that he wrote about his life as an orderly, I guess. He had a nursing degree, but he worked in nursing homes. So he wrote about his experiences, and a lot of them were really funny. So I took those and worked with those. And so it just kind of happened. Sometimes things just fall in your lap.
I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine the work of adaptation. I once had the opportunity and did not take it to take a class on adaptation from novel to film and like do that work. I have
Yeah.
actually taken an adaptation course in the other way where you're observing the differences. But it was you would take a piece and adapt it to film, and thought that sounded so cool and so difficult. So that's got to be quite an undertaking.
Well, what I found most difficult was, okay, you've got the guy who wrote the memoir. Okay, you don't want to make him unhappy. Okay. You've got the institution who was mentioned in the memoir, and you don't want them to be unhappy. And then, I get left behind here, but but it was a lot of making people happy, balanced, at least not angry. But I had some help because he seemed to be very willing to work with somebody, and recognizing what I was doing was kind of fictionalizing his memoir. And he was okay. But like I said, I used the happy parts. And And that was another nice thing with working with the students from Augustana, because my ending I thought was okay. It kind of tied in with the beginning, but they kind of come up with their own ending um, just during practice, and they were kind of all dancing around, and it was just so much fun. It was a nice way to end things, and yeah, very happy. So good experience
I
all
love
around.
that. Collaboration is so full of surprises.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at my notes here, sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking at mine too.
Um, well, you said one of the things that is an exciting thing is seeing your book on a bookstore shelf. Where can we find your books?
Well, let's see. Okay, there's some new ones. I have a list somewhere. Okay, the Artsy Bookworm in Rock Island. She is great to work with, and yeah, is helping out all kinds of local authors. The
I love
Wordsmith
her. Yeah.
Bookshop.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Wordsmith,
Booksmith
yeah, Wordsmith Bookshop um, in
in
Galesburg.
Galesburg.
That's a new one, and they are also very helpful.
Love that shop too. Yeah.
And okay, I got into Prairie Lights. I was just totally amazed. But, I had to say, okay, I went to school here in Iowa City, and I got lots of family here. And I don't know. This was, 20, well, okay, not 2020. I was working on it. I got it out. But promoting books in this time period has been very difficult. So, yeah, I haven't been back to check them out yet. And there's a lot of things I wanted to do and just haven't got to it. Okay, as far as promotions, working with libraries, working with small groups. I had all these plans, and then I kind of lost energy. So.
For sure. It's been odd. I'm on the other side of that, planning literary events. And a lot of the things that I would include in part of my job would be, getting our books in stores in the greater Midwest area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you want to go there in person, you want to meet the people, you want to make the connection, you want to hand over the book. You want to care, you want them to care about you, you want to care about them, you want to see, what the people in this location are like, and maybe do an event there. And
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of work for just one location.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then, there's libraries, which generally don't want to pay. But their job is to provide what people need. And
Mm-hmm.
your librarians probably care about local literature, but
Yes.
they have budgets.
Yeah. No, I've done both. I've donated books, and I've been paid for books by libraries. So I'm happy. I tried to get them all in the, like a 50-mile radius of Bishop Hill, and in Henry County, Illinois.
I love. And
Mhm.
the other bonus about libraries is they have events and they have an audience, and
Mhm.
it is a community space. I love libraries. I get to go
Mhm.
to 2 libraries today. I went to the Moline Library this morning, and I'm going to go to the Rock
Oh,
Island Library tonight.
aha.
I don't live in either of those places, though.
No.
Where else in the community are you involved with your creative work?
Oh, those are the main ones right now. KSI book clubs and the writing center. Um, yes, I go to meetings there too. So try to
You said you
contribute.
got started in arts, or your background was in arts and crafts.
Yeah,
What does
I
that
was
mean?
a silversmith, metalsmith. That's what
Right, you said you made jewelry.
I made jewelry. That's what I picked up in University of Iowa. Yes, the art department.
Mhm.
They got somebody in, and she was into electroforming, but I just took basic classes, and so I bought tools and I never sold them back, basically. So yes, I always thought that, if nothing else, I'd go get a job at a hardware store because I like my hand tools.
That's awesome. And I'm sure,
Hmm.
something that I really strongly believe is that art is art. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is. I mean, okay, I'm planning out a piece of jewelry. I have to know which what kind of solder to use. There's three main types, and easy, medium, hard. So you have to plan ahead. You're sketching out a design. You're working on that, planning how to make it. So I always thought there wasn't a lot of difference between making a craft project and making a book, doing the story. You have to do some planning. Uh, I mean, I have a starting point, I have an end point. Somewhere in between, this all has to come together.
I love that. I'm so happy to hear that too, because I feel like a lot of the time I'm trying to explain to people like why visual art and written art are the same, which I mean, obviously they're different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel so strongly about that, and I'm not the most eloquent person in the world. But yeah, no matter what, you're putting yourself into it. No matter what, you have to do some planning. No matter what, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna probably need to rework some things. Um,
Yes,
and
it doesn't always work the first time.
your time and your energy and your focus and your love are in that piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
Yeah.
do you feel like your work with silversmithing, with metalsmithing, um, has helped
Mm-hmm.
you in the other parts of
Yes,
your life?
yes, yes. Well, there was times when I was at the conference, a workshop at the conference, and I'd wear one of my big necklaces. And I always wanted somebody to ask about it because it was wire work and the glass beads. And I always wanted to take it off and show them this is a character arc. In case you don't know, this is a downward one, but you have different shapes of character arcs. So
That's
yeah,
so
it
cool.
relates. It
You
relates.
make a whole class out of that.
Hmm.
Oh,
Have you ever seen Kurt Vonnegut's diagrams of
uh-huh. Yes.
yeah, the shapes of stories? Yes, it's quite a bit like that.
That's one of my favorite lectures.
Hmm.
Oh, I love that. You should do that. I would take that class. I get my classes for free through the Writing Center though, so heads up, I may not be beneficial. um, let's see. We've pretty much knocked off most of my questions, but here's one of my favorite questions. Um, why do you continue to write?
Um, okay, now I don't write every day. I kind of go in spurts. And okay, so the Iron Pen contest was one of those spurts, and I found a similar contest in from Iowa City about a month earlier. So another spurt, and these kind of turned out to be um, oh, flash fiction, I guess. When something has a limit of under 200 words, I think
Mhm.
that's okay. It's very short, but you can get a lot in because that's one of the things I like to do when I was doing feature writing for the newspaper was just pack all kinds of information in. I'd have a starting point here, wind around all types of places, end up over here, but still having a connection with the beginning. That was always one of my favorite pieces. And I, I, I don't know, the editor never got on me for doing that. So, mm. That was one of the nice things. I had an editor, when, at the newspaper. So, so yes, you got an editor, you got to see your name in print. Another nice little thing. And I used to write letters to the editor for newspapers. And I always encourage people to do that, but it's not the same thing anymore. Newspapers have changed so much.
It's kind
Just
of
in
an
the
odd process. I mean, you've got your word limit, your character limit.
True, yeah.
And I don't know if this is normal or if it's like a new thing or what, but I know when I've submitted them, someone has called me to confirm that I submitted them.
Yes. Make sure you are a real person.
But it's also, I'm the person who provided that phone
Yes,
number.
yeah. Well, I'm glad they do that.
I am too.
Check up on because
Um,
well.
mm, mm, mm. Was there anything else you want to add?
Oh, okay. This is going to be on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I've noticed you're getting a following. It's all picking up there. So it's nice to see it's live now, but it's going to be available for people to check out. Uh, and I was wondering, Facebook. Are you on Facebook a lot?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you personally or a writing center?
They're both me. So both.
Okay. All right. Okay. Because I don't know. I haven't done that much with Facebook recently, and I've just been dragging my feet because they're changing a lot, and I'm not sure I'm happy with them. So, are you happy with them in the responses you're getting and the experience?
I think I think that each social media medium
Hmm.
has a very different demographic. And
Yeah.
so gauging engagement on each one is a different game. Um,
Mm.
I think we do okay on Facebook. I'm not in love with our engagement, um, which is probably partially on me. Um,
Mhm.
and partially, they changed their algorithm pretty often. So
Yeah.
last I checked, if you have a page versus like you being an individual profile, if you have a page, you are limited to a certain number of posts per day, or they
Hmm.
quit being seen by people. And then,
Yeah.
our Facebook demographic is like most of our followers on Facebook fall into white women between 50 and 70. Our our Instagram demographic is still women. I don't get the racial breakdown there. Um, but it's between 20 and 40.
Ah. Okay.
So it there's a lot of sort of weird math that goes into determining whether or not the platforms are gonna work out in the end.
Hmm. Well, no, it's good to go younger and probably even younger than what, 20 you said?
Yeah, those
Okay.
folks are on apps I don't have.
Ah, okay.
I think well, I know TikTok is hot, obviously. But there are other apps out there too that we could be using. Uh, but
Mm.
there's a in just me learning a new social media and setting up an account, there's like we're on LinkedIn, but there's a
Hmm.
learning curve for me, which is, man hours. And then there's figuring out how that particular app ticks.
Yeah.
So we're investing a lot in each one based on just finding our people and the
Mhm.
man hours put into it. So it's a math game.
Really? Okay.
There are a lot of apps out there too, and it's also
Yeah,
yeah.
there's more all the time. There's more since yeah, Twitter has changed so much. Yeah.
And there's, you never know which ones are going to take off and which aren't. You
No,
also don't want to be the last to the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. I kind of wedded myself to Facebook early on because yeah, it is my age group, and I don't know. I'm just being wishy-washy, I guess. So need to make a decision.
Well, what is it? I don't know the word for it off the top of my head, but any activity is activity. If you put something out there, it'll be seen. You don't have to, do it 3 times a day every
Hmm.
day.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's right. I have a blog too. I was keeping up with that much better than lately, but yeah, I had more
What's your
fun
blog?
with
I'd love to throw
that.
that in the comments.
Okay, I'll have to send it to you. It is on ah, Weebly.
Hmm.
Weebly. Yeah, but yeah, because early on it was all about writing. The technical aspects, my journey in writing, and
I found you.
I don't know. Yeah,
MaryDavidsaver.weebly.com.
yeah, that's me.
So that's in our comments now.
So yes, you can look up Midwest Writing Center. I've mentioned you a few times.
I'm excited.
Mostly
We'll do
good.
that.
Mostly good.
I do want to say I'll let you go. I'll let you go have your day back.
Okay.
Um, oh, I lost it. Oh no, it's gone. Oh yeah.
Uh-oh. No, no.
You wrote an essay for These Interesting Times, which was just beautiful. And you said you weren't much of a memoir person, but I could see you being an essay person. I just wanted to remember to tell you that.
Ah.
I didn't have to say it
Uh,
when you were alive.
yes. No, that was interesting because, I was going to some of the writers' studios that you're hosting. I assume you still are hosting,
Mhm.
right? The Zoom version. Okay. And you had some suggestions for my first idea, and I didn't have an ending for it. And so that is when I dropped that first idea about, writing about an early friendship and focused on the grandbaby that I couldn't see, I could see but not touch
Yeah,
because
it
with
was
through
really
Zoom.
touching. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was a letter format, and yeah, that seems to become handy every once in a while for
well,
the
I love a
people
good
who.
epistolary.
Yes, I'm glad you know the word for it. Um, well, and I've seen some books that have used the format with emails,
Hmm.
and that might be more familiar for a younger crowd. But anything that's communicating is good and usable. Usable.
I agree. Um, yeah. If you're done with me, I'm out of questions. So I'll
Okay. Okay.
transition over to updates at the Midwest Writing Center
Okay. Cool.
this weekend. On
Okay.
Saturday is the Iron Pen reading, which is
Ah.
actually tomorrow. The winners of the Iron Pen contest will be announced, and then on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday we will have a reading
Yes.
for winners and participants. Awards will be distributed then, including monetary prizes for those
Yes.
in first place. That's a first. That's exciting.
It
Um,
is.
and the drawing for who wins free tuition to the Collins Writers Conference. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're still doing for just the month of March. It's still in a trial phase. We're doing Writers Studio both in person and online. So it's the first and third Saturday of the month. from 11 to 1 Central Time. Those are separate groups. It's not hybrid. So the in-person group meets at the Midwest Writing Center, which is the ground floor of the Rock Island Public Library in Rock Island, and the online group meets online.
Okay.
Coming up on the 19th, so that's next Sunday, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, is our youth writing workshop in collaboration with Nahant Marsh. That's over at the Marsh Education Center. And that will be for ages kindergarten to 6th grade, led by Madeline Young, who's a former MWC intern and just a real talented educator and lover of nature and of literature. So that'll be a really good one. That's $15 for members of either the Marsh or the Writing Center, or $20 for non-members. So head over to the Marsh's website, or the link in our bios. If you're on something with a bio, Facebook doesn't have that, so it's a poor example. For information on that and to sign up. Otherwise, we've got Telling Family Stories I'm really excited about with Ida Zalelian on, I almost said August, April 6th. That'll be an online workshop, and it's going to be really great. She is a wonderful author of fiction and nonfiction, and a teacher, and a talented teacher. And what she writes is family stories. So this will be really right in her wheelhouse. I would like to suggest as a writing prompt today that we try to compose our own real short intro to a cozy mystery. So make sure you've got that first person amateur detective, and an incident to investigate. As always, thank you so much, Mary, for hanging out with us. And to everyone else, please write more light into your life.